Hello everybody and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast. Hello, our Croeso I podcast Rhif Sirig Saith. This is podcast number 37. My name is Gareth Evans. This, joining me today, is Mr. Henry Cooper. Didn't have a middle name for you today.
It's
Sorry.
Silent middle name.
Yeah.
You get silent letters.
Insert name Cooper.
Yeah. You got to have the pause though. It's not Henry Cooper. It's Henry Cooper.
There you go. So we're going to talk about gaming stuff today. This is a gaming podcast, therefore let's talk about games. Today we're going to be covering the Fallout first. I mean,
enough said.
We'll get into it. We're going to be covering UK Children's Commissioner's call for a ban on all non-cosmetic in-game purchases, which is something I can probably get behind.
Yeah. It's quite an easy one.
We're going to be discussing the Jedi Fallen Order previews, taking the Patreon community questions, and we will be covering our pick of this week's YouTube comments. First and foremost, let's get to the Fallout 76 shit. Because lo and behold, they have announced that the private servers are here. Private servers eventually, they said they were coming, they would let us know about it soon. That was last week when they announced the Wastelanders delay. Well, they've come out and blown the lid off what will be a really interesting service.
Can they put the lid back on, please?
Can they throw out the food, please? So this is I'm going to read the first paragraph of the blog post. That's all I'm going to read, and then we'll just go through it after that. But this is how they're pitching it, right? I always think it's interesting how they're pitching it, how they're justifying it, if you like. Ever since Fallout 76 launched, we have consistently worked to improve and evolve the experience. We've worked consistently. We haven't stopped. We haven't gone for a break. We haven't worked inconsistently. We've worked consistently, right? To improve and evolve the experience based on your feedback.
Now, I'm sure there's some really hard workers who aren't, evil people over there at Bethesda. I'm sure there are.
That's not saying they're working hard. That's not saying they're improving. They're not saying they're evolving. They're saying that they're working consistently to try and do that.
Yeah, they've not done it yet.
We're still waiting. That's why we're excited to launch Fallout First, a premium membership that offers something players have been asking for since before launch: private worlds for you and select friends. In addition to this huge feature, Fallout First,
it's huge. It's going to be huge.
Huge. In a game which doesn't have a lot of features, it probably seems like a huge feature to them, right? You get to play on your own. Brilliant. It's a huge feature
that most games would just have in there anyway.
Fallout First also includes a host of exclusive items and membership bonuses, all of which you can find detailed below. And the best part, Fallout First is available right fucking now, baby.
See, normally when they say, and the best part, it's completely free.
No, this is a premium service. So what do you get for your cash? That's the first thing, right? And then we'll talk about how much it is. So you get private world, so you can play on a world on your own, for you and up to 7 friends, so a total of 8 people. You get a scrap box, which means you get unlimited storage for crafting components in your own new scrap box container. Pay for convenience.
Yep, that's another gameplay advantage which you're paying for.
And on the topic of which, survival tent. You will get a new placeable fast travel tent point with a stash, sleeping bag, and more for your basic needs. Now, you can only fast travel to where your base is, your colony, whatever you call it, your base.
Yeah.
Survival tent adds an extra one that you can fast travel to for free because it costs otherwise to fast travel all over the place. Another gameplay advantage.
Monetizing that.
You get atoms. You receive 1,650. I don't know where they've plucked this fucking number from. 1,650. Exactly that many atoms per month to use in a topping shop. It's like they've come up with some sort of equations to figure out where the balance is in terms of where they're making a profit from this.
The bullshitometer. If it's
1650, what the fuck? Just say 2000.
Yeah, no, that's too much. But then 1500 is too little. It's not worth it.
1650, just so that you've got like just about not enough to buy like 2 items or something. I don't know what the prices are, but they give you like 1650 just so that you might not just about be able to afford the thing that you want, so you have to get your wallet out. Fucking hell, man. These guys. Anyway, you get the Ranger Armor outfit, an iconic Fallout outfit exclusively for members. This is the Fallout New Vegas outfit. This is another cosmetic thing that people will be really, really wanting because it's a Fallout New Vegas thing.
It's the best game in
And
the
they've put it behind a paywall. Fuck that. Okay, next and last, icons and emotes pack. So unique icons and emotes available only to members. There you go. That is the long and short of what you get. But how much is it, you ask? How much would you say? £4 a month? £5?
Yeah, something reasonable. No more than, say, like a Netflix subscription or something like that.
Well, hold your horses there, Henry. 1 month subscription will cost you £12 in the UK, 15 or 14 pounds in the US, or dollars or something like that, right? Or you can go for you can save some money here, guys. For a 12 months of membership, you get it for £100. Fuck me. That is ridiculous. And dollars wise, that's like $120, is it? Something like that.
Something.
Fuck me.
And they've got what's he called? The Vault Boy. He's part of the branding, and he's like #1 because it's Fallout first, even though he was created to be like satirical, right? It's like a parody of ultra corporate stuff from that period, and kind of trivialize. It's a friendly cartoon, but it's all radiation and terrible. Now they're legitimately using it in their unironic branding. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And if I can quote again what they said in the original pitch paragraph, a premium membership that offers something players have been asking for since launch Private Worlds. Yes, people were asking for it, but they were not expecting to pay for it, and definitely not expected to pay this month this much. This is so much money. We'll get on to what you can get for that money, or for less money, in just a while. But firstly, going to the FAQ now. I've combed through the nitty-gritty of this, the FAQ, just to see exactly what the terms are on this, right? And you'd be surprised at some of the shit they're trying to pull off here, right? Only 8 people, obviously, can go on a server. Why not 16? Why not 32? 8 people is a small amount of people, and they're limiting that. Why are they limiting that? So that people don't exploit it, maybe? So that people don't try and get value for money, which is £100 a fucking year, or £144 if you go monthly. It's ridiculous. Anyway, the next point in the FAQ that I picked up, you can't even kick someone from your own server. You got no moderator options, so you can't.
God.
So if one of your mates is being a dick and you want to, when you hire a server like a CSGO server or any online competitive shooter server or anything like that, you've got options, right? You've got shit. You're at the helm and you can tell people to fuck off or I'll fucking kick you. No, you can't do that in Fallout 76. And on that note as well, you can't change the rule set either. You can't change any options in the server. No drop rates. The drop rates and rewards are all set as per what the regular game is. You can't change that when you've paid for this fucking server. The biggest one, or one of the biggest one, is no mod support at all. You can't, one of the biggest reasons why this was anticipated was people were expecting mods for Fallout 76. Mod their own server. Modding community for Fallout is huge.
Yeah.
People really want to be able to mod the game. You can't even, currently don't even support mods at this point. And this is the best one. This is a little gem, right? And I'm going to read this pretty much word for word. When the owner leaves the private world, you got 8 players, yeah?
Yeah.
On this private server, yeah, you would expect that you're paying per month for this server. It should be there always online, that anyone can join at any point, right? No. When the owner leaves the private world, it will only remain active if one guest is a Fallout First member. Otherwise, the game begins a shutdown timer, notifying all players before removing them at the end of the countdown. Players, it's not even an always online server. It's only online when the guy who's subscribing to it is connected. This is a big fucking kick in the balls. It's a complete joke. It's a scam. It's overpriced, and it's bollocks. Why are they doing this? Why are they putting such limitations, not giving you a lot of freedom, and expecting you to pay that much money? This is absolute bollocks. It's complete bollocks. And I'm not just saying that for hysteria. If anyone with any sort of objectivity compares this service to any other sort of subscription server-based service online for any games thing, this is bollocks. It doesn't compare favorably at all, and it's well overpriced.
Surely they can see the irony in having a game that's all about nuclear warfare having a countdown until everyone's booted out. Surely.
So there you go. It's just one of the worst value propositions, and there's no reason why people. This is my biggest point of contention. There's no reason why they can't do what Minecraft do and allow you to make your own server on your own computer, just play the game without being online. Because, why not? And then just host a local area network game like Minecraft, so anyone in your home that's on the same Wi-Fi can join in. There's no reason for them not to be able to do that other than money, other than pay-gating these features.
That's literally what it is. It's paywalling basic content,
So what do you get for your money? I mean, what can you get for the same amount of money? I mean, Netflix is like the basic Netflix is £8 a month or £9 a month, something like that. So it's more expensive than Netflix, and the amount of entertainment you get from Netflix, movies, video, TV shows, all over the place. Amazon Prime is cheaper. Amazon Prime is one of the best value for money services that I think is out there right now. You get so much for your money with Amazon Prime. Free, not just free delivery. You get the TV, you get the music, you get loads of shit. And when you compare it to other gaming subscriptions, it again doesn't come out favorably at all. Xbox Game Pass for PC is £8 a month. You get over 100 games. Right, it's £2 a month cheap, or if you're paying by month, it's £4 a month cheaper. Right, you get over 100 games, including Fallout 4, which is like a decent single player experience, and The Outer Worlds, which is a game, funnily enough, which parodies all this big corporate bullshit. Right,
we're not sponsored, but the game looks fucking awesome.
Yeah,
and like a better version of everything Fallout has been for the last few years.
It's just the facts, right? It's just comparing it, like £8 a month. You can even get a trial for £1 a month right now for the first month, and you can play The Outer Worlds tomorrow. Oh, we're filming it the day before it comes out, but if you're watching this on Sunday, The Outer Worlds is out now. You can get access to it for £1 a month. This isn't, again, not sponsored. We just like the look of it, and we support the developers because we love what they do. The other thing to compare it to is EA Access, which is £90 a year. Again, £10 cheaper per year. What you get for that money is new games on release, all the EA games new on the day of release, even like 5 days early, whatever they do as well. You get access to their full back catalogue too. Even half that price, which is the basic version, the subscription version. You don't get the new games on release, but you get the access to the back catalogue of games. You think about the amount of time you can put into those games compared to the amount of time you can put into a solo, a private server on Fallout 76, and the amount of money difference, amount of features difference, it's ridiculous.
And this is an EA service, the most money grabbing people in the world, and their offer is cheaper than yours at Bethesda.
Metal Shark commented on the Discord something along the lines of you'd expect some free games or something with the price of that subscription, because Bethesda have got quite a decent back catalogue of games. You've got Prey, you've got
the Dishonored games,
you've got Doom, you've got,
and they're all just the non-Fallout, non-Elder Scrolls ones.
You've got some pretty decent games there that you could offer for a subscription service, and this is just all this is basically targeting the whales that are still playing Fallout 76, targeting the biggest fans of the game who happen to still be playing because everyone else has fucked up. I mean, also on top of that price, you've got to consider console players have to pay for the PS Plus and or Xbox Live if
already
on top of that. So there you go. And this is I don't know. It's just falling even further for me. I mean, we covered it earlier in the week when we did the Fallout video. This is what games as a service does, right? This essentially getting large chunks of the functionality of the game, and they're not doing it for the player's convenience at all. They're doing it for their own, No player would want this. Like, no player wants to have to deal with this bullshit. You paid full price for the game already. Okay, if there are, if there's an associated cost with continuing the service of Fallout 76, do it in a better way than this. Fucking hell.
I feel like Bethesda are just holding this as tight as possible, wringing it and twisting it to get as much out of it until whatever their next game is, whether or not it's going to be Elder Scrolls 6 or Starfield, whichever one comes out first, or whenever the hell they actually ever come out. I feel like they're just holding this off and being right. We know it's bad, so we just got to double down on that for while we can, and then we'll hopefully win some favour back with the next game that comes out.
I don't know how. I don't know. They're just not aware of how the public see them now. It's just,
or they are, and they just don't care.
Yeah, exactly. It's just obvious to anyone who's paying attention here that they're doing it for the cash. They're trying to, like you said, wring out as much money from our wallets as possible, and just targeting their core player base like this is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And I noticed this post on Reddit from someone who claims he used to work there, right, as a bit of an insight into the inside of the company. I think this is interesting, and maybe it isn't true. Maybe he didn't used to work there, but there's no reason for him to lie and make it up like this, because it's not meme lordy. It's just kind of matter of fact type of comment. So you make your own mind up whether it's genuine or not, but I thought I'd include it here anyway. The Gamerpad says, I used to work there. They have a bunch of suits/investors making all the decisions and know nothing about gaming. They value sales/marketing more than developers. They think it's as easy as spend X amount of dollars on Y genre and get Z amount of dollars profit. Quotes, oh, Blizzard made a ton on Hearthstone. We will make an Elder Scrolls card game too and make as much. All they're trying to do is inflate their value to sell the company. Years ago, the CEO listened to an offer and was insulted because it was well below what Zynga got. His understanding was that Zynga was just cheap mobile games. ZeniMax is recognized big brand games like Skyrim, Fallout, Doom, Wolfenstein, etc. Not realizing big budget games are risky, while mobile are cheap with huge potential. They're fucking greedy, clueless idiots who took creativity and innovation away from the creators that made the company adored and a success. They want to be the villain that EA is made out to be. Now, obviously, there's a lot of negative sentiment there. Maybe he's still harbouring that from because he doesn't work there anymore. I don't know what the circumstances are. Maybe this is just a big, bullshit. Maybe he didn't work there at all. Maybe there's a ring of truth about it. But the fact that he says they're trying to emulate these other successful companies. Now, the only other subscription on par with something like this is World of Warcraft, and that subscription for that is like $15 per month or £10 UK sterling per month. Do you get the same amount of money? You get this online world with massively multiplayer. You get access to that, and the expansions are on top of that. So Battle for Azeroth is extra money on top of that. That is expensive in itself, and that's what Blizzard do, obviously. Is that what they're trying to emulate here, do you think?
I think so, but they don't seem to have the self-awareness of what they're doing or the transparency. And Blizzard, they're nowhere near as good as they were right now with like public opinion. Court of public opinion. That's what I was looking for. But people still love World of Warcraft, and it seems like that was always fairly upfront about what it was. It's like you get this huge service, and you'll pay us because we need to maintain it and run it. But Bethesda don't seem to have that discourse or know how to get the fans on side because they keep shitting on them.
I think the biggest difference is the quality of the product. Now, Blizzard are known for quality products, whether they do things right by the consumer or not. You can't dispute that Blizzard have some of the best games out there, right? The quality, people will pay for quality. Fallout 76 is nowhere near any sort of quality, never mind a Blizzard quality game. People might disagree with me putting Blizzard games on a pedestal like that, but Fallout 76 was trash to begin with. The whole gameplay is completely undermined by the network lag in the game. The buggy as shit. We know that's what Bethesda games are like. It's just on a total different level. if you ask me. I mean, I'm in no way justifying the price of the subscription for WoW here, but if Fallout or Bethesda are trying to aim to be the same sort of service, for fuck's sake, you've got to have a decent game to start with. You know what I mean?
WoW has had consistent quality for this long. There's a reason it's got a fan base. There's a reason it's blown up again just by resetting itself.
Millions of subscribers. Anyway, one of the funniest reactions is one that you spotted.
Yeah, this one's great. So Chris Avalone, he's a legend in the gaming world. Chances are you may not have heard of him, but he's written something that you've played. He's what used to be with Black Isle Studios and Interplay, who were the original teams behind the older Fallouts. I think he specifically worked on Fallout 2.
Yeah, Fallout 2. Planescape Torment, KOTOR 2.
Yeah, big Star Wars MMO game. Fallout New Vegas, Pillars of Eternity, Prey,
Divinity Original Sin.
I was like, DOS?
What's DOS 2?
Yeah, DOS 2. Jedi Fallen Order, which is coming out in next month. So he's huge
writer,
guy. Yeah, he's got a good CV on him, this fella. And he used to work specifically with Tim Kaine and Leonard Boyarsky, who are currently at Obsidian and making The Outer Worlds. So he tweeted this perfect tweet. I read it this morning on my way to work. Dear Obsidian and Private Division, no idea how you hired Bethesda to coordinate their announcements for Fallout and Fallout 76, but the combo is amazing for helping Outer Worlds. Seriously impressed. Also, kudos to the Outer Worlds devs, you're getting amazing reviews.
It's totally shitting on Fallout 76.
It's so savage. I love it because the fact that the Outer Worlds is very much kind of the anti-Fallout at the moment. It's the one that people want to fill the Fallout void, and this timing of this announcement could not have been better. If it came out last week, it would have still been good. If it came out next week, it would have still been good. But literally days before the game launches, just after it's got a bunch of glowing reviews, it's in the mid to high 80s on Metacritic at the moment.
Yeah, very good reviews.
It's so perfect.
There you go. I think that is the end of the what I've got to say about it. I've ranted enough about Fallout 76 in general, but I mean, you know, if you're subscribing to this thing, then there's something either I don't want to say wrong with you, but you
not
are
right.
Something not right somewhere if you're spending that much money on Fallout 76 to play. So all you get for your money is to be able to play solo and a fucking stash for your scrap items. What the fuck value is that? Come on, you've got better things to spend your money on, and if you haven't, then no more power to you. You know, you want to waste your money, go ahead. But that's it for my Fallout 76 coverage for today. Let's move on, Henry.
We've got another. It's not quite a negative one, but it's a good thing about a negative topic, I think is the best way to put it. So there's been another call in the UK, because the UK seems to be quite on this at the moment, for a ban to all non-cosmetic in-game purchases in all video games, and especially ones around children. So this comes from the UK Children's Commissioner, which is like, it's not just one person. It sounds like one person, like Commissioner Gordon from Batman, but it's like a body.
Well, they don't have one of those lights with like up in the sky with like microtransactions with a big cross on it. No?
So the sun from Teletubbies, that's their projector. Right. You know, the baby in the sun. Yeah. Americans might not get that joke, but it's not even very funny anyway. So the UK Children's Commissioner has called for a ban on all non-cosmetic microtransactions or in-game purchases or anything, and they published a fairly lengthy 37-page document called Gaming the System, which I think is a great title, and it generally says that cosmetics are okay. They're not great, but they're okay, but the ban should be on gameplay altering, and they're just no good. And it's got numerous recommendations directly for the government. And I've kind of abridged these to make them a bit shorter, but the heading was, the sentence before it was, gambling laws need updating to reflect the reality of children's experiences of spending money within games. And I like that, because it's not just gaming laws, it's gambling laws. Yeah. So it sets it up immediately. This, we consider, as the UK Children's Commissioner, we consider this to be gambling related. So the 7 recommendations are: financial harm should be part of online harms legislation, which it's kind of it's bewildering that that's not the case already. Yeah. Developers and platforms should not enable children to progress within a game by spending money. Spending should be limited to items which are not linked to performance, i.e. cosmetics. Yeah. If you're making a game, you shouldn't put systems in to allow people to pay to get progression or pay to win, because that's exactly what it is. Yeah. Player spending should be tracked. A maximum daily spend limit should be in place, especially for games with children, and should be switched on as default for children. There should be a better dialogue between parents and kids about monetization, subscriptions, and etc. And I think that's the first step to all of this, is educating parents and kids, and then allowing them to speak to each other to be able to figure this out and know if the parent is okay with them spending, how much, when, and like when to stop, when to pull the plug.
One of the biggest problems is that parents these days aren't keeping up with the trends in gaming. I mean, all these games are being released now where you do have to pay extra for additional parts of the game, essentially, and the kids are playing it without even knowing. Without the parents even knowing what is potentially what they could potentially buy, because they're all like marketplaces now. They're all stores, these games, and if parents aren't aware of that, it part of the educating the parents to understand what their kids are being exposed to. And maybe you could blame it on the parents in some degree, but still, kids are arseholes sometimes. It's just easy to go, just leave me alone. Go and do something, leave me alone.
But I think with the dialogue thing, it's important because the kids themselves, they're the ones who are going to have the psychological mismatching of stuff when they're this money-centric attitude and unaware of the importance of money if they can just spend it. But also the financial harm, that will be on the parent. You see this in the news all the time of, my son spent $4,000 on FIFA packs and I didn't know. And because you need to be talking to your kid and take their card off or put a spending limit on.
It is lazy parenting. You can't deny it. It's lazy.
The next one is the government should take immediate action to amend the definition of gaming in Section 6 of the Gambling Act 2005 to regulate loot boxes as gambling. Now that's quite an easy one. We've talked about it 100 times, but loot boxes are definitely gambling. And then the final one, the government must also undertake a wider review into the current definition of gambling in the Gambling Act to ensure that it accurately reflects new forms of gambling, including those forms found in online games.
And this addresses the fact that a lot of people's defense for putting loot boxes in games is that it's not gambling by the definition of the law, because you don't get a prize, you don't win, you can't cash out in the same way you can in real life gambling. Now what this says is, well then we need to update what gambling actually fucking means, because the world has changed and these gambling laws are old. We need to adapt the laws to account for the changes in modern society.
There's so many bogus laws that still exist in the world. Like there's a couple, I don't know if they still are anymore because they often get struck away, but like used to be, if you are a pregnant woman in the UK, you can pee in a policeman's helmet because it could be your waters breaking. And then this one's a bit specific. I think it's either if there's a Scotsman in a Welsh forest or a Welshman in a Scottish forest, you can shoot them with a bow and arrow totally legally and just kill them. It's something like that.
There was something along the lines of that to do with Chester, right? If a Welshman was caught outside the walls of Chester Castle at night, legally you could shoot and kill them. And that's a law that's still, like, to my knowledge, it might be like...
Why do you think I live there?
Why do you think I don't go there?
I patrol the walls. I'm the guardian of Chester.
I can see that one.
But anyway, there's like a companion article to go with this, and it's not that much of an article. It's mainly a few paragraphs, but there's a lot of quotes because it spoke to 29 10 to 16-year-olds about gaming in general and their gaming spending habits. And a good quote from the article, not from a kid, is peer pressure from friends and online strangers, as well as the influence from famous gaming YouTubers, are all factors that children say lead them to feeling pressured to spend money on in-game purchases. I think there's a lot of stuff there. So friends peer pressure, that happens to kids all the time, and that's not to be like dismissive of it, but it's a problem that still needs to be addressed and always needs to be addressed. And it doesn't just happen on the playground anymore.
Kids are dicks.
Exactly.
Kids
it happens
dicks.
When they're not at school. They're playing their video games at home. We need to make sure they're aware that that's happening and know how to respond to it. Online strangers is a massive one because there's all these sites. What was the CSGO
Lotto?
And all that they don't know these people, and it turns out they were owning the site and profiting millions off it anyway. So that was all bullshit.
Martin and
look it up. I haven't got time to explain it. There's the whole stories there. Influence of famous gaming YouTubers, that's a huge one because the amount of guys who have built their careers off being the NBA monetization stuff and the FIFA Ultimate Pack YouTubers and whatnot.
I mean, they make money out of promoting this shit essentially, and it's the viewer base, the kids, the underage people who are not, old enough to gamble or whatever, the ones that get influenced by that because they are the influencers after all.
And when they open a FIFA pack and they get like a good player like Messi or something in there, they go berserk. The kids get that feedback.
Yeah, that
I can feel that.
Oh,
exactly.
That's fun, yeah.
Yeah. And all these factors leading kids to feel pressure to spend money on in-game purchases. That's a massive thing that needs to be addressed altogether. But then there's some really interesting quotes. There's loads of different ones from different kids of different ages, but I picked out a couple. First one's from Nina, who's 10 and is a Fortnite player. If you're a default skin, people think you're trash. And this is something we kind of touched on the other day about gaming disorder and kids being bullied because of Fortnite, but it's not because of Fortnite, it's because kids are dickheads.
Kids are dicks.
But with regard to this sort of stuff, it's a cosmetic microtransaction, so according to the suggestions of this commission, it's okay, but people, again, parents, teachers, and the kids need to be taught that this is still a form of bullying and it's still not fucking acceptable.
I mean, what I'd say to Nina, if you're watching the show, Nina, you probably aren't because you got better things to do, like playing Fortnite illegally because it's supposed to be 13, but we'll leave that by the by for now. If people are saying you're trash for the skin that you're wearing, you must realise that these people who judge you based on the skin that you have, they are the trash people. You're not trash for the skin you wear. They're trash for being such judgmental pricks, and you should never be friends with those arseholes. I hope you won't listen to that, Nina, because there was a lot of swearing there.
Those are bad words.
Sorry, Nina.
It wouldn't surprise me if the amount of people who are actually high-level players equip default skins so people think they're trash and they can just wreck. That really wouldn't surprise me. If I was any good at any gaming, that's exactly what I would do. There's another great couple of quotes here from Tim, who is 16 and plays FIFA. It takes a long time to get somewhere, so you just do that. Talking about opening player packs in Ultimate Team. It's like gambling. You could lose your money or not get anyone good or someone really good. So now this is a 16-year-old kid who understands that this is gambling.
Yeah.
And EA pretend that they don't.
He's
when you're 16, you've got enough of a brain to figure that stuff out. But if he knows...
Well, yeah, he's buying a card pack. Specifically, this guy, I don't care what everyone else says, but this guy is a good example of a regular FIFA player. He buys a card pack with the expected outcome of maybe he'll get someone good and win, or maybe he won't get anyone good and lose. And it doesn't matter whether you can cash that out or not. That's what he's doing it for. He's getting it for that gambling rush. He's doing it for the gambling rush. That is the point. And this is an indicative of why these mechanics should be considered gambling, because this guy is getting that gambling
He's 16,
fix
not 18.
from FIFA.
Yeah. And the fact that it takes a long time to get somewhere, so you just open the packs. That's another thing about the whole the grind of how they build a monetization system around that, because why spend so much time on it if I can just pay and get there quicker? It saves so much time. There's another FIFA player called Lee who is 14. I never get anything out of it, talking about buying packs, but I still do it. And again, that's the compulsion of doing it, as well as the peer pressure and stuff to have the best players and keep buying it. There's another one from a guy called Nick, who's 16, also a FIFA player. You feel like it's a waste of money, and then you open more. Now that's
compulsion, isn't it?
It's a compulsion, just like any other gambling addiction, like the people who are addicted to playing slots, and they're pushing the button every time, no matter what they get, and they're just pumping money through and through and through, hoping to eventually get to the jackpot.
It's a very interesting article and evidence that they've put together here, and I very much hope that the UK Children's Commissioner does get something done here. I mean, a lot of the points sound, they're all very common sense type things that you would have assumed would have been put into law by now. Only a couple of them are talking about loot boxes and gambling and stuff. There are 5 points there or whatever that are talking about non-cosmetic items. They're talking about pay for convenience items, which don't necessarily constitute gambling or any sort of gambling. They're just these microtransactions that we always rally about, which are gameplay altering, which harm which harm the industry more than anything, and harm the player bases, and not necessarily for gambling reasons. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out, because they've kind of lumped these two things in together, because not all of what they're saying here is technically gambling, or you could be even argued that it's gambling at all. But it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out, and hopefully it gets some traction, and we can get something done.
Because as an adult, if it's your money, you're making the conscious choice to spend it. You're probably aware of, it's probably a bit of a shit thing, but I just want this gun faster. I want to level up faster. But these are kids who aren't aware of that connection, and it's not their money they're spending, and it's the parents' responsibility to inform themselves about that sort of thing. So hopefully, if these recommendations do become some sort of legislation, then it's definitely a step in the right direction at the very least.
I was thinking back to one very bad example of like pay gating content, and it was a mobile game. It was like the Harry Potter something or other, and there was a character, one of your characters, that was being strangled by the tree with
the Whomping Willow.
The one, it was getting strangled or something. It was like pay now and save your character, or wait 8 hours. They're literally putting those sorts of that sort of imagery in the kids' minds. This character will die or be harmed unless I get my wallet out now, literally. Or I've got to wait 8 hours or whatever.
My girlfriend was playing one of them last night, one of the Harry Potter ones. It's not the AR one, it's the one that came before that. Hogwarts Mystery. I can't remember.
I think it was that one.
Yeah, and that's the really horrendous one. And she just said to me, I remember why I stopped playing this. Yeah. Because massive Harry Potter fan, as a lot of people are, but it's so egregious. And she completed a challenge or something, and it popped up, you've unlocked a puppy to have as your pet. And I was like, that's cool. He's a cute puppy. Yeah, you got to pay to access him.
Ridiculous.
And she was like, well, I've got about 15 quests to do, but I can't do any of them because I've used all my energy.
Yeah.
And you've got to pay to get more energy, or wait like 18 hours. It's ridiculous.
There you go. Let's move on to our next topic for today. We're going to talk about Jedi Fallen Order, and there's been some previews and a lot of people's impressions on the game. When is it out, and what are people saying?
It's out. So it's out on the 15th of November. So less than a month. It's like 3 weeks now, I think. And the previews haven't given us loads of new information. It's not like, here's some lore, here's what you're going to be doing, here's this mechanic and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's more like, here's what it is as a game, as like a thing you will actually be playing more moment to moment. It's not just, here's Star Wars, you got a lightsaber, the game.
Yeah.
So in case you don't know what it is, it's an upcoming Star Wars action-adventure game by Respawn and EA. Now, Respawn are a pretty good developer. They're known for first-person shoot. There you go. First-person shooter games like Titanfall and Titanfall 2, which I never played the first Titanfall, but Titanfall 2 was awesome. And more recently, Apex Legends. So they're not as experienced in third-person action. They're certainly not melee-based action with a lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
And so EA are known for making garbage.
True.
But we have been promised that there will be no microtransactions, but again, you'll have to wait and see, because post-launch microtransactions often become a thing.
Yeah, there's one thing what the developer wants, and a completely other thing what a publisher wants. Publisher like EA have got such a bad track record, although they have changed things with Battlefront 2, and they've tried to smooth things out and go away from loot boxes and shit. You can never trust EA, though. You can never trust.
Well, they do have some potentially shifty stuff in with regards to it being EA, because there's some pre-order bonuses which are like cosmetics. You get lightsaber. We'll go on to cosmetics in a bit, but some lightsaber stuff, and if that's pre-order exclusive that you don't get from actually playing the game yourself, then that's still bullshit, because it's gating content that way. So you can't escape all of it. But apparently there's no microtransactions, which is great news. But we kind of already knew that. So a bunch of games media outlets got to play the game for around 2 to 3 hours. So there's a bunch of previews where they're talking over it, but it's not their gameplay. It's supplied footage, like B-roll or whatnot. Mm-hmm. Although the whoever was playing it got their ass handed to them a couple of times, and I'm like, either you're not very good, or something's gone wrong, which was quite funny.
And you've got to analyze that and think they're putting that specific gameplay out for a reason. They could have chosen a gameplay footage where the player is just just beating down the enemies. But maybe they're trying to push that Dark Souls kind of vibe where you do have to die sometimes, and it is a difficult game, because that genre, that kind of Sekiro type of thing, hugely popular right now.
The whole Dark Souls thing, it's one of the most frequent descriptors of this game as being Souls-like, and the other one is to be Metroidvania, which sounds like every indie pixel platformer of the last 5 years. They're all Metroidvania, Souls-like pixel platformers. But as with regards to it being Souls-like, it seems much more close to something like God of War, which again was semi-inspired by Dark Souls because it's got slightly slower, thoughtful combat, but it's not punishingly difficult unless you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And when the whole Sekiro thing was going around, that should the game be made easier for people? I don't think you should force the creator to do that. However, I would enjoy the game if it was easier.
Yeah.
But so apparently, if you do crank the difficulty up, you can basically turn it into Dark Souls, Star Wars, or Star Souls, if you will.
That is
if you want to. Yeah.
Right.
I think they've got 4 or 5 difficulties. It's like Padawan, Jedi Knight, Jedi Master, then Jedi Grandmaster, and at that point, shit's probably going to get really fucking hard.
I like how you just reeled them off out of memory.
Well, that it's semi-memory, and that's the ranking of Jedi in the.
It wouldn't be a PGG podcast without you spouting some Star Wars info.
I mean, now you know.
Now you know
who's what.
Now you know.
So another thing that makes it quite Souls-like, which is something I'm not too sure about, but it just depends on how it feels when you play it, is that there's going to be shrines which you meditate at, and that's where you do all your upgrades. And apparently there's quite an extensive upgrade tree, which is great, a nice bit of progression. But your enemies respawn when you do that, and that's your checkpoint system is when you go to these things. And I'm like, I don't feel how that would work in a Star Wars game to kind of make sense.
That doesn't make sense at all. They've gamified that, right?
Yeah.
And what you want from a Star Wars single-player narrative-driven game is none of those gamey type of elements. You just want a story-based focused game. And how story focused can it be if you're going to meditate and enemies pop back up?
Yeah, like that. Everything else seems like exactly the kind of Star Wars game I want it to be. Big action, space adventure. It's non-linear, and we'll get onto that in a minute, with different planets and doing different stuff, but then we're going to have this bit where you're going to meditate and then all your enemies are going to respawn, which doesn't really make any sense.
It doesn't fit into what they're trying to package it up as.
Because for something like Dark Souls or Bloodborne or Sekiro, they're their own fantasy mythology with sort of magic stuff going on that's not quite right and it's a bit abstract, so they can get away with it a bit more. So I'm not sure about that, but again, it depends how it plays and how grindy it is, and whether or not you're expected to go back to easy areas to get like XP farm and all that kind of stuff. And with regards to it being a Metroidvania, in case you don't know what that means, because it doesn't really mean anything anymore, that's essentially you go to an area and it's like, oh, I can't open that door. I need a special ability to be able to open that door. I'll move on. You find that ability later, do what you have to do over there, and you come back, you can open that door, and then
a whole new area.
There's a whole new area, new enemies, probably another new ability. And I like level design like that because it can be a really good way of progressing, but if done wrong, it can be a lot of backtracking.
Yes.
Which is a risky game. But there's a bunch of different planets which you can travel to pretty much at will, I think, from your ship, which I think is called the Stinger Mantis, I believe I wrote down somewhere.
Stinger Mantis.
Which sounds like a character from Metal Gear, like Psycho Mantis. So you don't fly it yourself. You go on and there's like a holographic display with a bunch of planets. You can go to them whenever you want, which seems really cool. Gives it a more adventure kind of vibe, which I'm really into.
That Mass Effect-y type of thing.
So then you'll go to one planet, do everything you can there at that time, fly off, go to another one, maybe you go to another one, then come back, maybe for a story reason or just because you've unlocked Force Push now, so you can smash down a certain wall that you couldn't before. So I like game design like that. Apparently there's a massive focus on exploration, which I'm really keen on because some of the earlier gameplay we'd seen suggested it was a bit more combat oriented. It's just walk from place to place, clear the room of stormtroopers, and then kind of move on.
I mean, it depends what the motivation for exploration is. I mean, it works well in a Fallout type game where exploration might get you meet an interesting character. I'm not talking Fallout 76 here, obviously, but you might meet another interesting character, go on a side quest, and it might end up like a really enjoyable kind of half-hour detour, or any open world game like The Witcher, anything like that. I can't really see that again fitting into this type of game.
I think a game like God of War did that really well, and almost too well to an extent, because you'd have your critical path of your key place to go to, but then you'll be roaming around on the boat, and Atreus would say, "We can go do that, or let's look around," and you look around, and you could sink hours into this one cave, which is a whole extra thing, which is great. But it can get really, really distracting.
So it depends what the progression of your character is, I guess. If you're going on these side quest mission things and then upgrading your character, getting more XP, unlocking certain things, then that is a great motivation for. And I think it works well, I guess.
What God of War did well with that is having a constant companion with you between Kratos and Atreus, so you're chatting and you get a bit of stuff.
You got a robot dude in this one, right?
Yeah, your Cal, the Jedi Padawan. You got your little droid called BD1. And he's a droid, so he talks in beeps and boops. So I don't know how much of an actual conversation they'll have, but you do have your mates on the ship, so hopefully he can communicate with them over a radio or something, because otherwise it's just swathes of walking through explorable areas. Like, yeah, they look pretty, but I'm not...
I mean, by the looks of it as well, the environments are, you have to climb and jump and,
Yeah, there's a decent amount of platforming and whatnot.
Yeah,
which seems cool.
Environmental puzzles and stuff.
Yeah, there's some... like physics-based puzzles where you have to use the Force, which hopefully, if that plays well, that'll be really fun, because I mean, what more do you want from a Jedi game than good lightsaber combat, and everyone says that is good, and a good bit of Force stuff, which is awesome.
Beautiful.
I like that it's not open world, so to speak, because doing an open world in a Star Wars game, you'd probably restrict yourself to just one planet. Or you'd have to cram in, it's like, oh, look, here's the snow part of the planet and here's the desert part of the planet. But going this non-linear approach in Metroidvania kind of way means you can show off a bunch of different things. And we're going to see some new planets that we have reportedly never seen before, or not in a big way. And there's going to be some familiar ones. So we'll probably go to like a Hoth or a Tatooine or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Although I doubt we go to Tatooine, because this is set between... Episode 3 and Episode 4, the original, during the Jedi Purge, when all Jedi are all but extinct. There's like a handful around. Empire is pretty much at its strongest and at its most ruthless, and they've sent a bunch of what are called Inquisitors after you, because you're a Jedi, and that's not fucking happening. Their Inquisitors are ex-Jedi. They're not like fully Sith or fully evil or anything, but they're going to come fuck you up. They basically report directly to Vader, so I wouldn't be surprised if we did see Vader. Maybe not fight him, but if he's there, that's always a win for me. I love a good bit of Vader. Now, linking back to cosmetics, because I don't have a good segue for this, reportedly there are reasonable amount of cosmetic stuff you could do, but I don't know if any of it is gameplay affecting or not.
Right.
But I wouldn't be surprised if it was, like, if you equip a different outfit for your character, for Cal, you'd get like a defensive buff or something. Don't know, maybe just looks pretty, because you can change his base outfit, and I think that's all one unit, and then change the poncho he has on top, because I guess ponchos are cool. Star Wars does love ponchos. Everyone has poncho.
Off, you know what I mean?
They do the job. You can change the lightsaber blade color, which is great, because I really want a green one. I feel like it's just the best color. And the hilt, but I think this has been a bit semi-muddled. You can't change the whole thing of the hilt. I think you can change parts of it, but then I'm like, it sounds cool, but kind of what's the point if you can just change a little bit of it, because you're not really going to see that much of it. But hey-ho. You can change the color of the droid, BD1, and probably like give him some cool prints or whatever. Change the ship color. And I think that's all of your cosmetics. I don't think you can change like hairstyles or anything like that, because it's not really an RPG. It's more of a action narrative kind of thing. But yeah, all in all, I think God of War is a better comparison than something like Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Because the combat, it looks kind of slow and deliberate like Dark Souls is, and you've got to think about what you're doing. But the level of exploration and narrative focus makes me think more like a God of War. And then there's the platforming sections of like running on walls and swinging on vines that is very similar to something like Uncharted, which is great news. So I'm pretty keen for this. I'm still trying to hold back because it is EA and we all know what they do. But it looks like the kind of Star Wars game I've been wanting, and I think a lot of other people have been wanting for a little while.
Yeah, there's so, big indications that this will do really well. And if they are aiming for that God of War type structure and gameplay, then I think it'll connect with a lot of people, because people love God of War. And there's a void now. Like, what kind of there's not many games that come. They take so long. That's the problem, right? These types of games take so long to develop. And if they do it right, then they've got a hit on their hands. Which, I mean, if they can keep the monetization in check, fair play to them. We want to encourage those types of games in the industry. So let's support it, even though it is EA. This is still Respawn.
Send them a message that this is the if it is good. Obviously, if it's bad, don't fucking buy it. But if it is good,
always wait for the reviews anyway.
Yeah, of course.
Don't pre-order that shit. We know better than that.
Yeah. Some people have said the words Game of the Year contender, but then again, it's Star Wars, and everyone loves Star Wars. So if you see the Star Wars band makeup, you're going to be like, this is amazing, no matter how good it is. So I wouldn't necessarily trust any of that, but it's certainly confident.
Yeah, I mean, if it does make Game of the Year, then it's going to be the.
Has EA ever won a Game of the Year?
I'm sure it has. It's got a lot of games,
That's true.
Death Stranding is coming out this year.
Yeah,
so it's got
in less than a month as well. It's like 2 weeks for that. But Outer Worlds has done really, really well. There's been loads of good games this year. We've been spoiled.
There has. And we're going to take a short break and be back after this very short break. And welcome back to the second part of the Pretty Good Gaming podcast for this week. This is the more relaxed half of the podcast, the more chilled out part of the podcast, where we firstly take questions from our community members, and then we read out some of our favourite comments from YouTube over the past week and make fun out of a lot of people. Usually, we'll see how that goes. Including,
it's just so easy.
Exactly. And the Triggered Fanboy comment of the week is coming up too, which is worth the price of admission. Incidentally, it's absolutely free, by the way, if you hadn't realised that already. No microtransactions here. Right, let's move on. Black and Red Gaming asks our first question of the week. Hello, awesome people. As adults, did you ever play any game for a long time which made you or made someone in your family or one of your friends upset enough to tell you have to stop? If yes, which game was it? And when did you play it? And for how long? Have you ever had somebody have to intervene? What do they call it when...
Yeah, an intervention. Like if you're an alcoholic and it's taken over your life.
Have you ever had a family or friend member have an intervention because of your gaming habits?
No, not really. I've had them, like my mum passive aggressively say, well, you spend a lot of time on your Xbox, Henry.
That's quite assertive. Yeah. That's not passive.
But I'm like, there's nothing you can really do about it.
And
I bought it.
What am I doing for a living, bitch?
Look at me now.
I apologise if your mum's watching this. I didn't call you a bitch.
My mum's great.
I'm sure she's awesome.
My girlfriend definitely gets a bit moody if I'm playing.
That's it, like that's the passive aggressive. It's the mood.
Yeah. It's like when a game like Red Dead came out and it's enormous, and I'm there having a great time. Like, oh, look at this cool thing. She's like, yup, when can I watch TV? But I've never had a real right, look, have a sit down, you need to stop.
Yeah,
it's never been that bad. What about you?
Well, firstly, I have an issue with the camera, so let me just check. We're still recording. We're good.
Amazing.
We're good. We're still recording. Sorry about that, guys.
I'm not going to edit that out.
Don't edit that out. Fuck it. Fuck it. Seamless transition. Didn't know. Yeah, I was just checking. Anyway, I think maybe when I was early 20s, my girlfriend at the time, it was a long distance relationship, and she'd come and visit on a weekend, and I'd been playing Call of Duty online. Call of Duty was actually good back then, in my defence. And again, it's the passive aggressive, moody thing. It's the British way, isn't it? But never like addressing it fully. I want some of your attention. Like, spend some time with me. It's like, man, can I just fucking chill out? I work hard during the week, and then I've got you nagging at me on the weekend.
You're sitting there, mind your own business, playing a game. You're like,
that relationship didn't last.
And you're like, oh, you're right, honey. How you doing? I'm fine. Oh, that doesn't sound like you're fine. Oh, yeah. I just think it's funny that you've been playing your video game for 4 hours. I'm like, well, fucking mention something then.
Oh God.
I think generally it's not been that much of an issue.
Yeah, we're not kind of people to. I mean, it's all about balance.
As I fucking want.
It's all about balance, isn't it?
Yeah, there is a balance,
especially
with everything.
Yeah, if you do it too much, then it just feels like it's a bad kind of loop where you feel like you want to play more because you've played so much, and it's like you've got to take the breaks. That's why I play for like 2 hours now, and then just go and stretch or something, go and do some exercise, just something to clear the mind, because your brain gets all mushy. Mine does anyway. I don't know about you guys, but yeah. Don't do it too long, guys, or you'll get gaming disorder.
Yep, that's the one, gaming disorder. Anyway, next question is from Metal Shark. During Sightless Combat's recent EGX talk, he explained how the Xbox Copilot system allowed people to play certain titles or get through sections of games they couldn't have otherwise, be that due to vision, motor skills, or otherwise. Excuse me. Copilot is a feature allowing two controllers to go into one set of inputs, so a Copilot can, for instance, perform aiming or navigating visual mazes whilst the main player, the pilot, plays the game. As Stadia and xCloud allow for input from remote locations, do you think that 1. There should be more attention on having the Copilot feature at launch. 2. As players will no longer need to be physically together, it will open up a community of gamers who enjoy helping others experience epic gaming moments for the first time. Okay, so should the Copilot feature be given more attention at launch? In an ideal world, absolutely yes, because it would allow more people to play games who currently can't due to various disabilities or handicaps or just barriers or whatever. But I imagine it's a lot of work to put those sort of systems in to only be used by a certain amount of people. Yeah. So I don't know how beneficial it is for their time and resources to make that a priority. Ideally, you would be able to, but I don't know how practical it is.
This is Google we're talking about because it's Stadia. If it were Microsoft, I wouldn't put it past them because they're all about this accessibility thing. And I think that there's more value in doing it for the greater good for Microsoft these days. That's what they're saying anyway. Rather than value for amount of money they can make off the feature, which is the corporate way, the AAA way these days. So I don't really hold that much hope of Google going that way. And will it open up a community of gamers who enjoy helping others experience epic gaming moments for the first time? He sounds like a salesman there, Mr. Metal Shark. Will it? Yeah, of course. Yeah. Because
it's a new form of co-op, really.
People, wherever there's an opportunity for people of people who are like-minded to get together, it will happen. The internet has facilitated that. That's what happens these days. So, yeah, there'll be a Reddit, people getting together and helping people out.
No doubt.
It might not be the biggest community in the world, but I'm pretty sure there'll be Discord people,
no doubt, people
helping out because more people being able to experience gaming and get enjoyment out of gaming, the better. And if people help other disabled people who need that help.
Yeah, even for non-disabled people, I like some of my favourite co-op kind of moments in games. Typically, it happens in multiplayer with vehicles or in a game like Halo. You'd have someone driving the Warthog and then someone on the back firing the gun, the Gatling gun or the Gauss cannon or whatever. So if you could make a dedicated co-op game kind of in the way A Way Out, you have to play it with two people who can't play. So if they could do a game like that, or like a space sim where someone's flying and someone else is shooting, I think that could be really awesome because you could just do it through the cloud. You can do it remotely with anyone from anywhere. I think that would be pretty sweet.
There you go. We can cross our fingers, Mr. Metal Shark. Moving on to Mikhail. Is the next question. Earthworm Ben in your last podcast asked about Sony crossplay. Don't know if he's referring to Earthworm Ben or talking to Earthworm Ben there. Your answer got me thinking why there are console generations in the first place. If you are Sony and you have market lead, would it not be better for them to just reduce the impact of there is a new console on the market by releasing some upgraded version every year? Microsoft then could not come out swinging and reset things because a new console would just be the normal thing and not really a big decision to make. Just add backwards compatibility to lock them in with their library of games, and they've already purchased, and you will never have to fight for your customers ever again. I reckon I'm really simplifying this, but I'd like to know what you think. 5-year-long console generations are beneficial for Sony. Sorry, I'd like to know, why do you think 5-year long console generations are beneficial to Sony, or if they're not, why they keep playing along?
Releasing
Quite a deep question, that one.
Releasing a new thing every year is super expensive to produce, and it will make the old ones obsolete. So
Yeah.
it would force people into buying the new ones, but spending a massive purchase like that every year is a tall order. And well, a lot of people already do that with PCs.
It's a lot of production. I don't think it necessarily makes them obsolete. You think of mobile phones, it's that type of model, right? A new phone every year doesn't mean you have to get the new one every year, but in 2 or 3 years, you got 3 generations ahead, and you might think, oh, it's time to upgrade now, and you get a new one.
True, but
you're already, the point he's got is, like, you've already, because it's backwards compatible, you're already in that economy. That's why I don't change from Android to Apple now, because I'm already in that economy. I've already bought loads of apps on that store. I don't want to start again on the new, and that's what he's saying, is that, PlayStation will hold on to those customers for.
But my point about it being obsolete is that when they get better, let's say the PlayStation A comes out and it's pretty good. Next year B, next year C. By the time C's come out, the hardware's going to be so much better. The developers are going to be able to make games significantly better that couldn't possibly run on the A or even the B, so they would then be obsolete and useless.
Well, the games, I mean, it's different from the mobile comparison. Games development is like 3 to 5 year cycle on a game development, whereas a mobile app might be months or whatever. So if you're beginning to develop a game on like A, and then by the time you release like console generation D's out, then it's what are you developing towards, what are you optimizing towards. I would feel that maybe game developers would optimize towards the high-end PCs and then just do the console ports as an afterthought. That might be a way around that. I think it's a good idea for us. I don't know if everyone would agree with me. It'd be a good idea for the developers. I'm not sure it'd be a great idea for them, because there's a lot more R&D going into putting these together on a yearly basis.
I think the half steps, which we do now, are a good idea. PS4 versus PS4 Pro, Xbox One versus Xbox One X. I think they're quite good, because then it's a totally optional thing. If you want the better hardware, but you don't really feel like you're missing out. Well, it's getting there now, because things are running so poorly these days because of the demands that people are putting on them as developers. But I feel like buying a new system every year, it means it gets kind of muddied. I don't know. Like, I just don't feel like that works, given the amount of time it takes to produce the hardware and the software and stuff. And then with the games being built for an earlier system and then coming out later, or even if they do it the PC way, I just don't feel like that works as a consumable product.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. The benefits would be good, though. I mean, obviously, people like the convenience of just buying one console and then not having to upgrade for, paying $300, £300, whatever, and thinking, right, I'm done for 4 years. I haven't got to think about upgrading until then. But if you think that if they were to implement a subscription-based service, a bit like they do with mobile phones, you keep your phone or your gaming console for 2 years, 24 months, you pay $30. It's probably way overpriced then. $30 a month for 24 months is like $600-700. It's way too much. But if you think, maybe $15 a month for your console for 2 years, and then you've got it paid off, that's reasonable. I think. And then 2 years' time, you upgrade to the next generation C or whatever.
Well, I think it's at that point the console is pointless. You might as well just do it with a PC. If you can do a subscription or a payment plan for a PC at the end of your 2 year payment plan of, I don't know, £40 a month, because that's what a lot of them are, you then own it. You can upgrade it at will, or you can start a new payment plan or something like that, because that's the way you basically do it with phones. And I think that would make more sense than an annual console.
I think it's an interesting idea, and I wouldn't have put it past them that they've already considered this and thought about it. But I think that gamers are so used to the current model that you just buy one every 5 years, or one every 3 years if you upgrade to mid generation. That people are just so used to it. That's what they accept. But I would like somebody to try. Hopefully, Sony comes out and tries with this cloud gaming thing about to take off. I think they're more pushing towards that. I don't know, Microsoft probably are. I'm not sure about Sony and PlayStation, but we will see. Thanks for the question anyway, Mikal.
Next up is from Josuervo. If I can't remember. You did teach us how to pronounce it, but I think I've forgotten it, so I'm going to say it like that.
That was good. I approve.
All right, boys. Due to Gaz's reintroduction to The Witcher, Shag, Marry, Kill, Witcher Edition. Now, I'm pretty sure we have done this, but hey, I'm always up for doing it again.
Done this, yeah.
So our options are Triss Merigold, Yennefer of Vengerberg, and Cyrilla, Fiona, Ellen, Rhiannon.
Ciri.
Yeah, I never say her full name. Like, Cyrilla, and I was like, yeah, Ciri. So Triss, fabulous redhead witch. Yennefer, fabulous raven-haired kind of goth witch. And Ciri, a whitehead witcher. So, all right, his answers. I know that some of these characters have been presented in the past, but I don't think a Witcher Universe exclusive has yet been presented. You might be right with that, to be fair. For me, kill Yennefer. I barely like her in the game, and I hate her in the books. Shag Marigold because she's a young redhead with hot tits. Marry Ciri because she's an absolute badass with the power to dominate time and space. Also, while attempting to avoid spoilers, fuck all the people who claim that Ciri is a lesbian. I'm confident that she swings both ways.
Fuck them people.
It sounded like
she
it was
has to fancy me.
It sounded like it was going to be a fully like homophobic thing. It's like, fuck lesbians. I don't like the gays. She goes both ways.
Yeah.
I think you've got quite a good rationale for your answers. I don't like Yen. I've always thought she was a bitch. She's cool.
Herself,
she's powerful, but yeah, she's selfish, and she's just an asshole to Geralt. Who and this is gonna be very sexist, but I don't care. Just like every woman doesn't give him a fucking chance to explain himself. That he forgot everything. She's just like, no, you're an asshole. You didn't come find me or whatever.
It's
like, yeah,
a convenient excuse, though. I mean,
he got abducted by weird interdimensional alien demon things, or the Black Heart.
I lost my memory. I was shagging this fit red bit, and I forgot about you. I completely forgot about you. It's not what a woman wants to hear, though.
It's the fittest red bit, though. Yeah, so I think I'll kill Yen because I just don't like her that much. I tried liking her, but it's not meant to be. Although in book canon he does end up with her, but fuck that. Triss is my favourite, but I'm thinking if it's in Witcher universe, and depending on what ending you get, which isn't really a spoiler, but the reason you're tracking down Ciri is because she's the daughter of the Emperor, so that could give you an in to power and dominance over the world. I mean, Emperor Emir, I think he's called. He is an asshole. So he'd probably try and kill me if I did anything wrong with Ciri.
That's Ciri's dad.
Yeah.
The one played by...
Charles Dance. Yeah.
Charles Dance. I was playing it the other day and I was like, I know that voice. It's that guy off...
It's Tywin.
It's Tywin is who it is. I was like...
He probably just walked into the studio, barely had to act, and just spoke in his normal voice. So, 4-hour job. There you go. You're done. So I think... I love Triss the most, so I'm going to marry Triss. And I'll shag Ciri. Presumably, I'm not Geralt in this situation. I am me, because Geralt and Ciri, that's kind of weird, because she's like a surrogate daughter to him. And I'll kill Yen.
Good answers. One of the questions raised in the Discord by...
someone. This is going well.
I want to do it justice, because it would be a miss of me to not rate... Tons said in the Discord, how old is Ciri?
That's true. You don't know.
You could be opening a bag of worms there. Yeah. Ciri's probably dangerous maybe game. 2. So you've got to kill Ciri, right? Because she's too young. She's too young to.
Oh, Yen's really old. She's like. I think I might be getting my lore wrong, but I'm pretty sure she's actually ancient and looks really ugly. Not like what's her face in Thrones, Melisandre. Yeah, she's just got a spell to make her look pretty.
So I'm going to go with tons. I'm going to kill Ciri.
That's a fair reason.
I haven't actually met Triss in the game yet, so
she's great. I love Triss.
I mean, she's fit, so I'll shag her and marry Yennefer because she's well born. She's well to do. Which is, I'm surprised.
Well,
I'm surprised why you haven't gone for this.
It's because she's an arsehole.
She's an arsehole because of her upbringing, right? You've got to understand
So?
where people are coming from. So I'm on
So,
your side here.
yeah,
Screw
but Triss
you.
is
Who's
not
with
an
me,
arsehole.
guys? Who's with me? Anyway, I only know
Team
Jennifer.
Triss.
I only know Jennifer, and City's too young, so let's go with
Potentially
those
too young. We don't know. She is
Let's
in the
play
beginning.
it safe, Henry.
When she appears
You know what
later,
they're like.
she's
Anyway, thanks for the question.
Yeah, thanks for that. I love
Who's
good
Wervo?
intellectual debates around that.
Loachgar, not a question. Not quite a question. I just want to another perspective / thoughts on the following. I recently was told by one of the devs of a small indie game that following 2015, the video game market has become saturated by great games. As a result, however, gaming communities are spread so thin that it's become very difficult to stand out. Multiplayer-focused games specifically, what they developed, are the worst affected due to this. As a result, said developer is looking to make a final update to the game of 5+ years of age and go free to play.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So many great games out there these days. I mean, it's kind of contrary to the kind of news coverage that we typically cover on our channel, that a lot of the bigger games here are trash, but they're popular, right? I think that's the point.
Yeah.
There's so many good games to be, I mean, you think, okay, you can list a number of good games. God of War, like all the Sony exclusives are great games, like The Witcher, great games. There's so many great games now of the last few years that hold up that you could be playing. Online games, Fortnite, is it a great game or not? I don't know. I'm not here to judge, but there's so many people playing it. It's taking up their time. That's the point, right? There's so many people playing like Fortnite, the free-to-play games, that these developers are finding it hard to
find an audience, essentially. I think that's what you mean by gaming communities. Yeah, that totally makes sense. And then the move to free-to-play, it can be a smart move because it gets rid of the barrier
to entry
to that audience.
Mm-hmm.
So and then you can fairly monetize it. Like who's the one? Warframe.
Yeah.
Free to play, purely cosmetic stuff. And I think you can get some cosmetics through just playing, but then you can pay for extra ones. They've done it really, really well.
Yeah. I mean, it's just dog eat dog, and it's the name of the game. You got to make a good game that stands out above all else. And if it's hard to find a community, there are strategies to implement to try and get your game noticed. But I mean, it is hard. There is a lot of games coming out these days.
Show business is still business. I'm not sure you necessarily call the games industry part of show business, but kind of is. In the same way that it's creative and artistic, and creators got to find a way to monetize their art. Yeah, it's just the roll of the dice. Same with most things, but it can be done. Interesting
thought, anyway. Thanks for your question, Loachgar.
Another question from Motor Shark, apparently. Metal Shark. At Henry, in order to play Jedi Fallen Order, assuming EA aren't queuing up to offer a key, I wish, will you be looking to purchase a physical copy outright, or are you tempted to get a 1-month subscription, complete the game, then cancel the subscription? Now, I'm probably going to get a physical copy because I generally prefer physical, but it has crossed my mind to do the 1-month subscription, complete the game, then cancel it.
Yeah.
Because it's saves you a whole load of money.
It does, if you're not reselling the game.
Yeah, but I don't really plan to resell it anyway. I just like having a collection. I'm a bit of a collector in that regard. I mean, and the thing is, when I buy it, and if it's shit, I will then sell it. I never sell games that I like. I won't sell it just because I've finished it. I'll often go back to it.
So you would keep a game if you paid and you liked it, right?
Yeah. If I didn't like it, I'd still try to finish it and then probably end up selling it.
Yeah. So I'm thinking doing the maths on it. I think is it £10 a month for the
something like that?
£8 a month for the premium,
and it's on PS4 now, which is my platform. So
yeah. So is your game devaluing by that £8 over the course of the month that you're playing it before you are able to resell it? So if you buy it for 45, can you resell it for 37 in order to make the same amount of money as it would cost to pay the 1 month subscription? I mean, maybe you could sell it for 40 quid and make it. I mean, if you are counting pounds or pennies, that if it doesn't matter to you that much, maybe it's better value to buy a copy of the game and then resell it. Depends how good the game is. Because Nintendo games hold the value so well. Like you look at used copies of
Zelda's still so expensive.
You can't buy a cheap version of that for use. You just can't, because
when did that come out? 2017, I think.
People snap them up because the quality of the game itself is so high. Whether you agree
to
with
some people, yeah,
whether you agree with like the weapons smashing every 2 hits or not, that's up to you. But the value of those games hold really well. Whether this value of this game, it's like, it's a gamble, I guess, isn't it?
A game like Call of Duty, I would definitely do this if it was on that sort of subscription platform, to pay X amount for the subscription, play the game, delete it, you're not lost anything. Because all I want to play on that is the campaign.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Fuck the multiplayer and all the microtransactions that will be in it. Guarantee that they're going to be added in at some point.
Yeah.
Play the campaign, hopefully enjoy it. If I don't, I haven't really lost anything, because I can just cancel it.
That's the thing with when they give you these free trials or like cheap first month access, like they do with the Game Pass currently, £1 for a full month. You can play and complete the Outer Worlds maybe twice if you play it fast enough, right? 30-hour campaign, you do 15 hours a week for 2 weeks. You can finish it through twice in a whole month for £1.
Yeah.
And then cancel your trial. I think it's a great value. That's the way to go for people who haven't already taken up that offer. That's for sure. Anyway, thanks for your question, Mr. Metal Shark.
And there's kind of a follow-up comment to it. It's not so much a question, but from Kel, I wonder what helps Respawn more, obviously the developers of Fallen Order. Like, does more money or bonuses or what you have filter back to them if it's an actual sale? Do they get a cut of subscription money if people are playing the game? I wonder how it all works. I can guarantee they probably get fucking nothing from, and definitely nothing from a subscription, and they'll probably get like 20% of retail sales and digital sales and stuff, or something shit. They're not getting 50-50.
I would assume that it maybe works on the back end, something like YouTube Premium, YouTube Red, whatever they call it these days, does for us. The more amount of time people play the game, the more.
That's a point.
Say if you subscribe to EA Access and you play one game for that whole month, that whole month's subscription fee, minus the fees to EA, would go to Respawn for the game. Or if you pay 2 games, for example, over that month, then the fee minus the fees for EA, the subscription money goes between the 2 games, and then depending on how many hours of gameplay, because that's what happens with YouTube and YouTube Premium or YouTube Red, whatever they're calling it these days. If you pay like £10 a month or whatever it is, and you watch just PGG for the entire month, that then YouTube take their share, which is like 45% or whatever, or 55%, and then we just get the rest of the money. That's just how it works. But if you watch 100 videos across 100 YouTube channels, then that gets split 100 times, depending on how much your watch time is. I would have thought that's how it worked.
Yeah, well, I guess we don't really know,
because that's how it works on Spotify, the amount of hours listened to and stuff.
That's true. I guess that's the subscription
model, right?
I think the retail model, certainly for physical copies, is more consistent across all publishers and stuff. But then there's less money to play with there, because it will go to distributors and the actual store. So if you buy it from the other one, GameStop, that's the retailer, right? GameSpot's the
GameStop,
media. Yeah. GameStop, they will get money for having sold it. They'll get a commission or whatever, and then the money will go to EA, and then it will eventually get to Respawn. So maybe they get more for. I don't know.
Don't know, but thanks for questioning, Kel.
Hopefully Respawn get a good amount if it's a good game.
Next question from Mr. Rudy Manchego. Question, probably for Gaz, but how do you feel when those who favour the standard controller option label people who invert as invertards? Is this just like the old belief that being left-handed made you wrong or even strange? I think this is...
You're an inverter, right?
I'm an invertard, and I just laugh and just fob it off, that kind of comment.
Who gives a shit?
It's just
really.
It's
just fucking let people enjoy things.
You can call me an invertard, and I'd laugh it off.
Wear it proudly.
It's the people.
I'm not.
People who might take that personally, that might be affected by that. Is it like the old belief being left-handed made you strong? Or like being ginger, it means you got no soul, right?
That one is factual. Empirically tested.
I just think it's funny.
Yeah.
I think it's more in...
It's indicative of them as a person more than it is of you.
No, I think of it more as banter. If someone calls you an inverted, they're being banterous. It's not really a...
spiteful thing.
Yeah, it's not a criticism or anything like that, because it's just so ridiculous. Like, how can they ever judge you because you're an invert? If they honestly think that is worthy of judging you as a person, then they're just laughable. They really are laughable human beings, and they shouldn't ever be paid attention to. They should just crawl off into the little hole and just exist on their own in the dark with no attention. That's what should happen.
Best thing to do is if it's like a multiplayer game and they're calling you an invertard, beat them. Outperform them. It's like, I'm fucking inverted and I kick the shit out of you.
Just fucking mute him and get on with your day.
Just let people enjoy things, man. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, anyway, thanks for your question, Mr. Rudy Manchego. We will move on.
All right, so the next question isn't actually a question because he forgot to mention it, but we are thinking of Mr. Not That Rob Lowe in spirit, who has been regularly asking us to give our favourite games for the year of our birth and then going up from that point. So now we are at the 7th year after our birth, so we are, 7 turning 8?
Yeah, 7 turning 8.
So you are 1987?
No, I'm 16 and 7.
16 and 7?
I'm 16 and 7. 7th year after our birth. Is it? Year of our birth was 0. Yeah, 7 turning 8.
Okay, well, let's say that. You're 1987. What happened? What was good?
So 1987, I didn't do my research on what happened in 1987, but games like Metal Gear came out, the first Final Fantasy came out in 1987, and it's the first time I've looked at a list and thought, wow, I'm spoilt for riches here. It's the first time where it's like, I played a lot of these games. So I'm going to run through a bunch of honourable mentions, or just 4 honourable mentions before I get to my winner. Afterburner, awesome. Love
Afterburner.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, everyone who's played it knows it's awesome. Flight sim thing.
Fire.
Double Dragon, first co-op game, which was really awesome. Played it in the arcades and that. Oh, brilliant. Operation Wolf, the first person shooter of sorts. It was on kind of rails thing. You wouldn't move around, but just be there in the arcades. Or
like a light gun game.
It's like a military kind of simulation. Great. R-Type was one that I played loads. It was like a side-scrolling sci-fi space shooter thing. That was awesome. But my number one game from 1987 and one of the best games ever made, Sid Meier's Pirates. Hands down. It's one of the very first sandboxes I played, and probably one of the best. One of the first games that you could be and have a career. You can be a pirate, it can be a buccaneer, you could be an admiral. There's 4 different factions that you can ally with and grow a reputation with. It's just a sandbox. And then at the end of the game, when you die, it tells you how well you've done throughout your life. And I just love that concept. I think that it was the best game that year, if not best game that decade. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest of the thing, but it's definitely up there, one of my top games of all time. So it was hands down Sid Meier's Pirates this week.
Groovy. Well, for me, I was in the year of 2002, and there's been numerous good ones here. Not all of them I've played, but just to ream off a few. GTA Vice City, Eternal Darkness, which I don't think many people have played, but it's got a really weird sanity mechanic. It's pretty cool. Splinter Cell, Metroid Prime, Super Mario Sunshine, Star Wars Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, and the Resident Evil remake on the GameCube, which is one of the first full-scale remakes, I believe, at least first that was really successful. Mario Sunshine was very, very, very close to becoming first, but for me, it's James Bond 007 Nightfire, which I don't think many people consider to be among the best James Bond games, but I fucking loved that game. It's Pierce Brosnan era, so it's kind of daft, and it's not Pierce Brosnan's voice at all. It just sort of looks a bit like him. And it's just a good little Bond adventure in different exotic locations with terrible driving controls and driving sections, which were kind of awesome. But I remember the first mission is you're trying to sneak into a party, like a big fancy millionaire villa thing, and you arrive and you're like in your tactical gear and you're like stealthing people, taking them out. It's probably the first, like in that era where I was really getting into stealth games like Metal Gear and that kind of in my formative years. Then you advance up, trying not to get caught. And if you got caught, it didn't like game over you. You could kill them. You just probably would die quite quickly. Right. So you did have a chance to fight back. And I remember you had the your pistol, but you could take the silencer on and off. And I thought that was really cool. You had a little laser watch gadget that you had to like cut open the alarm system and stuff. It just felt really cool. And you get to the party, he changes into his tux, and it's just Bond doing what Bond does. And it was awesome.
When you're 6/7 years old, being James Bond in a game sounds.
I haven't played it since, so it's probably not very good. It probably
doesn't hold up, and the original Sid Meier's Pirates probably doesn't hold up. That's why they remade it, I guess.
And it had amazing multiplayer as well. There was a map called, I think it was Ravine, and it pretty much is exactly what it sounds like. There's bit on that side, huge gap, and then some zip lines.
This is after
and you can do bots. Right? Post GoldenEye.
So there you go. Thanks for your question, Mr. Rob Lowe, in spirit at the very least, because we're representing. I mean, obviously you're busy, got shit to do, but you're still in our hearts, Rob. That's the point, right? You're still here with us.
And you came up with this question 7 weeks ago,
and it's one of the most best recurring segments in the podcast so far.
I don't know what we're going to do when we run out of answers.
We're just going to have to look to the future.
Think of something. What's the best game of 2020?
We'll get there. So thanks for your questions this week to everyone in the Patreon on the Discord community. If you want to get access to the Discord, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. And if you want to support the channel, helping us bring you this YouTube content, you can get access to the Discord as well as early access to this podcast a couple of days early every single week. And on that note, let's move on to the best section of the week, and my favorite section in the podcast. It's the Triggered Fanboy Comment of the Week. So this one is a slightly weird one. It was on the Call of Duty video where we said, buyer beware. Activision fooled everybody with a very clever PR by trying to say, there's no loot boxes. We're not working on loot boxes. Didn't say there's no loot boxes coming to the game. We're not working on loot boxes, and very clever wording in order to try and get around certain suggestions that there might be loot boxes and pay to win mechanics or whatever. So this comment comes from Zuka JZ, and I'll try and read this as best I can. The punctuation is shit, and I might even have completely misconstrued what he's going for here, but I'm going to read it like I thought he was supposed to say it, right? You are a toxic player. That's it, idiot. How you talk, you would suck a D to unlock something, as well as bad GL such in any game. You are the best. You buy everything. I want to be the best, pay to win, but depends on you if you are good or not. Guns doesn't help you so much, idiot.
I read that one as well. So this isn't that much. It's not like a unique comment to me. It's not a surprise. But I read it and I reread it about 5 times. Like, am I missing something, or is this guy just either a fucking idiot or something's gone wrong typing here?
Everything, Samthing. With an F rather than TH.
But I can't really deduce an actual point.
Yeah. Whether we're toxic because...
Is it we're toxic because we buy all the Call of Duties and we put microtransactions, even though we've just done a video where we're trashing the game?
Yeah, is he defending? I mean, it didn't really make a lot of sense. So is the triggered, confused fanboy comment of the week? Because he's triggered about something, but we don't know what. The triggered, confused fanboy comment of the week. So the triggered, confused boy of the week. I mean, that's as good as we got this week. We did do some triggering this week. We talked about Fallout 76. A lot of people came in and said defended that game, as well as Call of Duty. A few other people were defending it. And what was the other one? There's numerous people were coming in and just disagreeing with us of the gaming addiction thing, gaming disorder. People could come in and disagree with, but not everyone was like calling us idiots and calling us toxic and that. That's just why this guy won. But anyway, on that same video, this is kind of a second place runner-up. Darth Jar. I'll just read this out because it's the same video. You guys are a bunch of hypocrites criticising COD, yet that English sheep said last week that he is going to buy Red Dead Redemption 2 again, this time for the PC. I just need to hold that up there.
I'm the English one.
And I'm the one buying
Welsh,
the game.
Buying Red Dead Redemption 2.
So check your facts, dipshit. Like, I'm not an English sheep. I'm a Welsh sheep, motherfucker.
And it's xenophobic anyway. Saying English in a derogatory sentence like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
English,
true.
It's not great, but whatever you are, you're obviously bigger asshole.
Darth Jar, he's a fucking Imperial or something, isn't he? RDR2 is a huge pay-to-win microtransactions game that, yet this idiot is going to double dip on RDR2 and fall on Take-Two's trap to force idiots to double dip by first releasing the game on console and a year later on PC. Look at yourself in the mirror, hypocrite D-bag. That's probably the better option for, because we at least know what is
better.
But my point to you is, right, I bought Red Dead Redemption 2 to play the single player game.
Yeah.
And I didn't play it, I didn't buy it. I've never gone online, never played the online portion of it, which is Red Dead Online, right? It's a separate thing. Yes, you need access. You need to buy Red Dead Redemption 2 to get access to Red Dead Online, but the value for money proposition, a 60-hour narrative single-player game, Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm not contributing in any way to Red Dead Online, not even logging into that. And the fact that I'm going to buy it again, I'm perfectly fine with that. The amount of work that's gone into that game, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm in no way encouraging them to keep to do the pay-to-win microtransaction bullshit that they do on the online by buying the single-player portions of the game and not contributing to the statistics on the multiplayer at all. I think good game development should be rewarded. Yeah, they've made one awesome game and one shitty cash grab type of game, you could argue, but there's still that awesome feature-packed first single-player experience available, and I'm going to do that. And yeah, okay, you could argue that I'm falling into their trap by buying the game. I've done that on other games I've supported in the past. I bought The Witcher 3 times, and I don't even like that game.
Well, you do now, right? Or you're undecided.
I'm definitely on the positive side of now. My impressions are good, and I've bought games in the past that I was just on the cusp of like a console generation, like The Last of Us. I bought that twice.
Yeah.
So I mean, my conscience is clear. I feel good about getting it on PC, and that's the fact. If I were just a consumer, I might consider it a little bit differently. But I am a game critic at this point, right? This is part of what the content I create is being informed about games. So if I have to spend my own money to buy this game in order to be informed when I talk in my job, then I'm going to have to do that. So my situation is a little bit different to most people. Not that that's an excuse. I'm not trying to use that as an excuse, but I do need to know what I'm talking about, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Some people, he's got his baggage that he brought in. Was that on the podcast or it's the Call of Duty video. Yeah. So that was one comment you made very briefly, one tiny sentence in a full video, and it's upset him that much. Yeah. It's not about Call of Duty, it's about one line you said. So he's just brought his baggage in. So it's a you problem, Mr. Darth Jar. It's not Jar Jar, it's Jajar. So Jajar or Yayar, I don't know. Sounds like an asshole. Anyway, I've got one here, which is rather applicable from, I think it's the same video. The Activision pulling the wool over people's eyes. 404 error not found. Great username. This is why everyone should be required to take an introduction to logic class in school. Yes, absolutely. I feel like basic critical thinking and argument skills are completely lost on the internet, even by intelligent people, because they're typing rather than actually engaging in face-to-face discourse. They don't know how to articulate any problems they have beyond just screaming, "You're a sack of shit, D-bag, playing Red Dead Redemption 2, blah, blah, blah." Just take a step back and think about what you're doing.
Just analyze the words that people are using and just try and determine what their premises are for making their points, right? And if you can find a hole in like if they're implying something, it doesn't necessarily mean that is true, and that's the way that they use this clever wording in order to try and manipulate you to think one thing, was what they're actually saying is something different. So if they go back on their implication in future and say, well, we didn't actually ever say that no loot boxes were coming, we said we're not working on them now, then that, you know, they can perfectly use that as a defense, because that is factually true. They never said they're never going to implement loot boxes. They said they're not working on them now. So it's a part of critical thinking that you analyze like exact wording and phrasing and see where the holes are and where it doesn't hold water, and that's the point of it, right? And that's the point the commenter's making, is you have to pay attention. You can't just read it blindly and go off what the headlines say and just accept what the headlines say. And, oh, no loot boxes ever in Call of Duty. Like, brilliant. Let's give heap loads of praise on them. No, they didn't say that, and they didn't say that for very good reason, because they're probably going to bring them, or they're leaving the door open at the very least for them to bring them in future.
Most of the video wasn't us solely saying they're definitely going to bring them into the future, although there was a little bit of that, because realistically, think about it, they probably are. They got a track record. It was saying that other people who are saying they're never saying that, that they are wrong. That is not what the article or the blog post or whatever the hell it was said.
And again, getting mischaracterized, right? Yeah. People mischaracterizing what Activision said. They're also coming to our video, mischaracterizing what we said and saying that, oh, there's definitely going to be loot boxes. We never said that. You use your brains, man. All we're doing is being critical about what they've actually said. We never made any determined. We didn't say for definite that this is going to happen or isn't going to happen. We're just saying, just be skeptical about what they're saying, because it's not all rosy and bloody sunshine. You know what I mean? Anyway, critical thinking, man. Just look it up or something. Logic 101.
So I've got another one here, unless you've got one ready to go.
On which video?
I've got one from the podcast now. So
no, you're good.
Okay. This is from Errol Bacter. I think it's mainly addressed at you. Sorry, there was a squeaky door. Have you considered making an entire segment in Welsh? It's hard to maintain the language when I have absolutely no reason to speak it, especially when all the media I consume is in English. What am I to do? Watch a terrible soap opera on S4C? So this is obviously another Welsh speaker, and as a Welsh speaker, what's S4C?
Espadrach. It's the Welsh Channel 4.
Oh.
That's where you get the Welsh shows.
Are there any good ones that we should know about?
Round a Round.
I don't mind a foreign film every now and then.
Foreign film.
Small
Get
indie
out of Wales,
film.
you fucking...
Do you reckon you could do a whole podcast?
I could if I did my research.
Yeah.
It'd be... I mean, I'm fluent in terms of I understand it all. I'm out of practice is the problem. I could hold a conversation and you know, have a conversation with someone, no problem. Sitting here talking in Welsh for a whole 20 minutes might be difficult, but I could manage it.
Well, this chap commented back, Cara Jorma, saying, Gaz probably wished he'd done the console rant last week in Welsh. I reckon a rant in Welsh should be fabulous.
Oh, yeah, it would. There's so much like harsh sounding language. Like German or something. I'm fucking...
You'd spit all over your mic and on your screen.
Brilliant.
Well, yeah, I think that'd be really funny. Have you got another one?
Yeah, not on the podcast. If you want to take the podcast ones at once.
Oh, no, I've kind of just got one from every video.
Okay, so the Fallout 76 video, Pierre Pellerin says, more stupidity from a YouTuber. Explain to me how you can pay to win in a solo co-op game. Who are you winning against if you compete against no one? Maybe you should learn what pay to win is first before you make a video about it. Now, I responded nicely to this guy, right? Our videos did say pay to win come into Fallout 76, but it all depends on what you think or what you find pay to win as, and we've talked about it in the past as well. A single player game you can win in a game, single player game.
You complete the game, you win.
And there are, it's not exclusive to a multiplayer game that you win a game. Okay, so let's get that out of the way first. Yeah. Doesn't mean that because it's a solo co-op game, doesn't mean you can't win.
When you get to the end, you throw the ring into Mount Doom, you blow up the Death Star, you win.
Yeah, there are different ways to win in the game too. So there are different. Say if you get an achievement or if you achieve something in a game, you could say that's a minor win. It's not winning the whole game. It all comes down to terminology, right? To semantics. Yeah. What win actually means to you. But generally, I mean, I talked about it before. Like I said, paying for any sort of advantage which might help you complete the game or win the game or help you for convenience items or whatever, that is pay to win in my book. I do think personally that pay to win is such a catch-all. It's a nice catchy phrase that people use in order to point holes, to judge something badly, right? To say, oh, this game's pay to win, that's shit, we shouldn't ever do that. But it's not the whole picture, right? Pay for convenience,
sub-genres.
Pay to progress, pay for convenience, all those things, which in my eyes would fall into pay to win, don't really... I mean, some people could say it's not pay to win because you're not winning the game. I think pay to win is an outdated name, but there's nothing else that we could use that is as catchy as pay to win.
Pay to win
Pay for content, like pay for additional content, pay for more game. Yeah. You could say that, but it's not as catchy as pay to win. So people use pay to win, but what they mean is pay for parts of the game that give you an advantage, or make it better, or make it easier to play. So it's not stupidity, is what I'm trying to say. And just because you think that pay to win is something different to what we think pay to win is, Mr. Pierre Pellerin.
Sounds like he's the stupid one to me. Well, I've got one from our gaming disorder video, and I like this one because I sort of misspoken. My point might have been misplaced. From the Desolate Puppy, which is quite sad. And the quote from me: "It's like drinking and smoking, it's their chosen vice. Both those things are chemically addictive, which is exactly the opposite of what the study said gaming." Y'all misspoke a bit. And I'm glad he acknowledged that that's all it was, I misspoke. And even in that same video, I acknowledged that the word addictive is tricky because addiction is the chemical thing in your brain, which is exactly what alcohol and nicotine in cigarettes does to you. But just to clarify my point about it's like drinking and smoking, people with addictive personalities will find addiction anywhere. Like if you're susceptible to... Chances are most alcoholics are also smokers, or vice versa. Or at least are addicted to something else. A lot of people are addicted to coffee. They just don't call it addiction, even though that's exactly what it is, because caffeine does the same thing in your brain. But yeah, I'm glad this guy mentioned it, because I probably wouldn't have noticed that I misspoke otherwise. And he hasn't been rude about it. He's not been trying to be like, actually it's like this. He didn't,
I'm actually...
y'all misspoke a bit. Yeah, I did.
Anyway, good comment. Next, Mr. Bobber Django. And another kind of triggered Fallout 76. I like the triggered comments. I just love them.
They're great.
Right? But this is particularly funny for a very specific reason, right? Mr. Bubba Django. Clickbait alert. I play Fallout 76. Of course you fucking do, because you've already called it clickbait. And there's nothing to win. I've never needed to use the utility items because it's really only for lazy players. Now, you're being lazy here by justifying their bullshit by saying you don't need to use them because they're being greedy bullshit bastards. You can ignore them. Yeah, you're being lazy by not addressing a perfectly legitimate reason for criticizing them. Anyway, I'll move on. You can fast travel back to camp and repair weapons and scrap junk. The fridge is no use to me as my character is a vegetarian. So I grow and eat veg that grows quickly. That's your problem, dude. Your character's a vegetarian. You want to give him some fucking meat. That's what's wrong with him. He needs some protein in his body. You don't survive on just vegetables, things that grow up there. You need some actual protein that's going to, make you strong and shit. That's his problem, right? Fucking vegetarians, man. Get out of here. Totally exaggerating the situation, according to him. 76 players are more frustrated with the pricing of the current items rather than utility items. Yeah, Fallout 76 players right now are the core players, the people who are invested in it, right? And there's like millions of other people who aren't invested in it because of the bullshit, because of the fact that there's microtransactions in the game. Like, obviously the people who are playing still are only frustrated only a small amount, because otherwise they wouldn't be playing anymore, and they're only frustrated with the pricing. Yeah, more fool them. They're still playing Fallout 76. What the fuck does that say?
In a similar vein, I
don't know.
I can't be asked to talk too much about this guy, because he's got a pair of comments, and both of which are lengthy, and he's trying to defend Fallout 76 on both counts. And the two comments separately, it's time-stamped separately, and it's like, why don't you just fucking wait and send them both at once, so then you will have seen the whole video and the whole discussion on that topic.
Oh, I remember this guy. He commented like 6 times.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, I'm not reading all of them, but I got these two. Big Cow Productions. Almost like this was a side game and not a main entry. The game is great now and has been good. Wastelanders is the first update that is being delayed when you have things like Anthem cancelling their roadmap entirely. It's like, oh, look at that one, it's worse. Stop hating Fallout 76 to try and look cool and be in the hip and vacuous crowd. I mean, you've been bagging on it since you played it day one, so... you were having issues because you were on PC, Ruffle. It's PC, of course. Is that console master racing? That's what it sounds like.
Thing, Henry.
Yeah,
exactly. It's delusion is what it is.
It's fucking dumb. And yes, they have fixed a lot. I've played since the very first beta on my Xbox One X. There we go. And the game has made leaps and bounds. It sucks that you had that experience, but it isn't indicative of the overall experience.
First and foremost, it's not a side game. They charge $60 for this, right?
Literally,
it was a full price game, so it's not a side game. It's a full entry. They just decided to make it an online game, which isn't. It's kind of an offshoot of the main thrust of what Fallout is. It doesn't make it a fucking side game. If it was £20 and it was just tacked onto Fallout 4, which is what it fucking should have been in the first place, then you could use that excuse. But no, don't justify it with that shit, man. Don't give me that.
And he's saying it sucks that you had that experience, but it isn't indicative of the overall experience. That's applicable to exactly what you said. It's great that you had that experience, but it isn't indicative of the overall experience because you had a totally different experience, and that same sentiment is echoed in his next fucking one that I've got in front of me. Maybe ignore the vendor. You're mad because people have played the game, enjoyed it, and decided to sell things. Very disingenuous way of going about this, Gareth. Just don't buy the stuff and scavenge for yourself. Also, as for the Ghosts players, this happens, but I've met quite a few cool people. I've had a good experience, which means your experience is invalid, even though I just said that's not the case in my previous comment.
Very good. See, critical thinking. See, that you've completely destroyed him with his own argument there, and that's what you need to be
fucking
on
big cow.
And in terms of me having to ignore a huge part of my experience in order to enjoy it, fuck that. Why should I try and ignore all the other people in an online game? I'd just rather play another fucking game. I'm not going to ignore part of the game to make you feel good about it so I can say good things about it. Fuck that, man. I've got far too little time in my life to deal or to spend time playing games which are implemented badly and not even considered the gameplay implications of doing things like having vendors and shit and having to set their own prices. They could just walk day one into a game, level 1, and buy all the biggest shit if you've got enough caps, if you paid enough money or whatever. I just haven't got enough time in my life to justify your bullshit. If you enjoy it, that's power to you. Don't come here criticizing my opinion, because that's just what it is. Yeah, it's just my opinion, just like yours is just yours. I've got one last question. We've got like 5 minutes before this camera is going to go off, but this guy makes a good point. Snidebox says, you made a sweeping statement about games as a service, as though it was always bad. But are all games as a service bad? Question. Good question, if you ask me. If a game is free to play and the money to pay the developers is made from cosmetic only and no pay to win microtransactions, what's wrong with that? First question is good. Absolutely. It's not all games as a service aren't necessarily bad just because most of them are. This
is something which frustrates me about the nature of YouTube being like multiple videos, is we've talked about all that shit before, saying there are great examples of how to do games as a service. No Man's Sky was the other one we just mentioned. Warframe. Great examples of how to do it. But because obviously this person might not have seen that, he assumes that our opinions...
I did say all games that's associated with all games as service is bad. Yeah, fair point. I did say that, but I'm trying to sit here, generate content for a YouTube video. I'm not always as critically thinking. I'm sometimes a little bit hyperbolic just to make a point. Right, that's part of the entertainment factor of the service we provide. I sometimes misspeak, and not all. So if it's a free game, in my eyes, my opinion, you can do what the fuck you want with monetization. I'll take it or leave it. If it's a full price game, then you better hell not put any other monetization in, or I'm going to have a problem. That's just the way I see it. And if I didn't make that clear in the video, it was my mistake. So Snidebark, you did make a good point there that I wasn't as clear as I probably should have been. I shouldn't sweep all games of service in with in the bad crowd, because there are some games that do well.
It's just difficult to have that caveat being games as a service suck. Brackets apart from these three.
Yeah, part of my shtick is that I raise my voice and be all like ranty and shit. I can't put disclaimers at the end of all my sentences because that wouldn't have the same impact. Anyway.
Well, I haven't got any more. If you want to wrap things up before we run out of time.
Well, that is it. We are done for this week's podcast. Like I said, if you do want to support the content and you enjoy the content we bring, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming and you get access to this podcast 2 days early. You can get access to the Discord community where you can post questions for us on the Discord and we will answer them. Thanks for watching this podcast. We'll see you again in the next video. Until then, bye for now.